Good afternoon. Welcome to the final session of the workforce development track, creative recruitment strategies. Friends, what makes a company successful? At Wagner, we submit that ensuring our customers are successful is part of our success story. Team at Wagner for their contribution, and that is part of our story as well. Our business partners are part of our success story. What's a single item that links a success story together? It's people. Successful workforce development is a three-legged stool: recruitment, retention, and employee development. Our focus turns to that first step, recruitment. We have attended or pursued. We are supporting local high schools' vocational training programs to communicate the opportunities of a career in construction. We have partnerships with local colleges, universities, as we look to recruit new talent. We sponsor events in hopes of supporting the industry and identifying workforce opportunities, and we still come up short. You have exhausted the traditional way of recruiting. Let's talk a creative way. This session will cover creative recruitment strategies to attract candidate shortage nationwide. It is critical for businesses to put the right people in the right seat for success, and you don't have to settle. The right people are available and attainable. This presentation will cover how to find, hire, and retain them. Presenting this session is Sarah Jorgensen. She's an HR consultant with BBSI. Excuse me. Sarah has over 15 years of human resources and recruitment experience. She's built numerous HR departments from the ground up and has worked in a variety of industries, including IT, consulting, finance, labor and construction, engineering, and healthcare, to name a few. A certified Coloradan, Sarah received her bachelor's degree from CU Boulder and her law degree from BU. Sarah, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and I'm glad to be here. I hope you guys are all having a great afternoon. This has been such an awesome conference. Gotten a lot out of it myself, and I love these themes that we're kind of talking about, which is our people. And I think we all kind of believe that we build our people and our people will build our business. And it's such an important topic right now. So today I really want to share with everybody here some tips and strategies for creative recruiting. So as was just mentioned, I am a consultant with BBSI, and I'm here in the Denver branch. BBSI is a national public company. We are a PEO. If you're not familiar with that, that's a professional employer organization. I like to think of us as kind of a non-traditional PEO. What we provide to all of our clients is workers' comp coverage, payroll, and then a whole suite of services, including business planning, safety, and HR. And we work with all of our clients in a variety of industries, not really a cookie cutter service. I work more closely with some clients than others, some strategies, some more tactical. But this is a great company. I'm very happy to be here. And I'll tell you a little bit first about kind of my background and my passion for recruiting. I have a background in employment law, which kind of morphed into writing policies and procedures, which morphed into kind of working in a human resources function. And then in that capacity, also started recruiting. So recruiting is a function of human resources. It's usually in larger companies. It's a bigger, it's its own department, but it's certainly an arm, a branch of the human resources function. And I was working for a company that had a lot of worksite employees. It was a large organization, and I was managing some of the HR functions, and I was given a recruiting department to essentially start. And my boss, who was the vice president of the company at the time, said, Sarah, recruiting is difficult. It's easy, but it's not that simple. And he said, recruiting is really just being good with people, having strong attention to detail, and being able to use good judgment. When you have those things, like, you'll be able to do this, you're organized. And it turns out that he was right. I learned it pretty quickly. It's not, it's time consuming. It's definitely a grind, but I love it. And so out of the entire life cycle of an employee, you think of the beginning part, where you are talking to candidates and interviewing people, through the end when there's separation taking place. This is my favorite part. And it was in that same position that I actually had conducted a lot of terminations. I've conducted more than 1,000 terminations, and it's unpleasant. It doesn't matter how kind of egregious the circumstances are that the employee is leaving. It's just not a pleasant thing to do. And in that role, that same role that I learned recruiting, it really taught me kind of the value of making the right hire, because you don't want to have to fire people. You don't want people to separate, especially on bad terms. And it was just this kind of perfect storm of circumstances that kind of led me to get this experience in recruiting and really have that passion for putting the right people in the right seat. So I've heard mentioned throughout this conference at different sessions, we're talking about this, what I call the beginning phase of the employee life cycle. And I consider the beginning of that to be your very first contact with the candidate. And from that point, through the interview process, through the offer negotiation, their first day, their onboarding, their orientation, and then any and all training that they are provided. And I've heard some people on this conference talk about the importance of sufficient training for new hires. But that period of time alone, from that first point of contact with the candidate, through when they are trained in their seat, trained, ready to do their job, that period of time can be 2 weeks. It can be 6 months. It could be 8 months. But whatever that period of time is, it is that period of time alone that is really going to dictate everything for that employee, whether they like the job or not, whether they stay or leave, whether they succeed or fail. As I mentioned, I've conducted so many terminations. I've seen so many really failures in on the employer side. It could be not communicating expectations. It could be not setting them up for success. It could be the job description itself. You didn't convey the job accurately. So you really needed someone that could do this, but you forgot to mention that in the job ad, and it turns out that they can't. So I have a strong passion for really optimizing that period of time. I say especially to my smaller clients, that even if they don't have a formal training process in place, that they have a shadow program, have somebody shadow a few different people for a couple of days. But that point of time is really important. That's really where my passion lies. And I believe it's crucial to not only getting people in the right seat, but keeping people in the right seat. Because as a recruiter, there's nothing worse than putting in all of this time and all this work to get the right person on board, and then kind of setting them off to their manager, and you don't know what's going to happen. It's like jumping off a cliff, right? So you want to make sure that that period of time is really kind of buttoned up. And so kind of as far as recruiting, we've been talking in this conference a lot about putting the right people in the right seat and retaining them. I've heard people talk a lot about performance management, setting expectations properly, and those are all really vital things to do. But as far as recruiting, this is such a hot topic right now because of the labor shortage. And so almost all of my clients are struggling right now with hiring people. There's a lot of different factors in play. We're in this post-COVID world, and there's a shortage of people, and there's a shortage, even more of a shortage of good people. So there's things that I really encourage my clients to do as far as getting those people. I agree that the right people are out there. It's just a little harder right now to find them. So this shortage really is the biggest challenge facing organizations today of all sizes. And whether you have 0 positions to fill or 10, I encourage everyone to ABR or ABH, always be recruiting, always be hiring. And some of the things that we're going to talk about today are more active hiring approaches. And I promise if you kind of put some effort forth and some time, maybe delegate someone to do some of these things, it will not be so hard to hire when you need to. So today we're really going to cover 2 different things. One is some unique ideas to attract talent. And we're going to talk about different ways that you can keep on this kind of path of always being recruiting, always being hiring. And then we're also going to talk about strategies for active versus passive recruiting. So, and just on that note, I'm in presentation mode and I can't see the chat. So what I would like everyone to do is, if you have questions or comments, put them in the chat as we go along. And then when I'm finished with the presentation, we can, I'll look at them and see what we might want to discuss as a group. So this is a poll question that I asked my clients. Our clients are businesses in a variety of industries of various sizes. I polled them, and 0 had 0 positions to fill. Over half had between 2 and 5. Some had more, a few had between 1 and 2, but I don't have any client that I polled that answered. None of them had 0 positions to fill. So this is just kind of a foray into the need right now. I think that every company, really of any size, has positions that they need to fill. And if you don't, you should be still thinking about these hiring ideas anyway. So kind of the first kind of unique tip I'm going to offer as far as taking a unique approach to hiring is to look at your parameters. So one of the things you learn kind of in the HR world is, if you have a job that is continually turning over, this sounds like a multiple choice question. It's like, what's the first place that you look? You look at the manager. Do you look at the environment of the team, or do you look at the job description? You look at the job description, and that's just kind of par for the course. And the reason is because the parameters in your job can often be incorrect. I heard somebody mention this in a previous session. We were talking about, they were talking about hiring to the job description and really holding your employees to that job description. So it's very possible. I work with a lot of clients really to define the job and define the requirements. And that's a very easy thing that you can do that can really optimize your hiring. So one of the things that I like to look at in the job description is what you're highlighting about the position. You want to make it attractive to people. And most candidates that are perusing job boards, they're looking at a title, they're looking at pay, and they might be looking at some of the experience required, but not much beyond that. I think the average Indeed says that people actually read through a job ad is less than 10 seconds. So it's important that you really kind of optimize that. And I often work with clients to define the job description, and that needs to be it needs to be all inclusive as far as what's required and the responsibilities, but it shouldn't be too long either. There's a little bit of an art to writing job descriptions, and from a job description, you can write a job ad. And the job ad should not be boring. It should not be this kind of mundane, all of these requirements, all of the things that you're going to be doing. You really want to highlight the company, you want to highlight the culture and make it an actual advertisement. It's not just a piece of information. It's an ad. You're trying to attract people. And really the benchmark I encourage everybody to kind of look at is if they have the same job with a different company on the same board, why would they click on yours and apply to yours? So we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the things that you can include in it. But another thing I love to work with my clients on is in their job ads and in their job descriptions is checking the requirements. So I'll give you an example. A client that they would ideally like somebody that is experienced, and that's because they're shorthanded and they need 5 people right now, and they can't bring one in the door. And their job ad says that they want someone between 5 and 10 years of experience. And that's because they want somebody that's worked in this industry. They want somebody that knows what they're doing. They don't have the time or the bandwidth to train this person. But when we kind of dove into that a little bit more, what I would ask them was, would you consider somebody that had 1 year of experience, but was a great culture fit? And they fit perfectly with the team, and they were punctual, and they showed up on time, and they were a quick study. You could train them up in a week. Would you consider that? And they said, absolutely. We would even consider somebody that had 0 years of experience. And so that's really important because it's also going to kind of serve as bait, I like to say. So if I'm a candidate that has 1 year of experience in some particular industry, but this job ad says that you need to have 5 to 10, I might not apply. Likewise, if I have 20 years of experience, I'm not going to apply either. You don't want somebody who's overqualified or underqualified for your job, but it's a really simple parameter that you can look at and really examine. And it can be broad. It can be 0 to 12 years of experience. It could be experience of all levels, so that it's not limiting. But it's a very simple thing that I really implore my clients to examine to make sure that they are really accurately capturing what this person's going to be doing and the experience that they would really like for them to have. Another thing that's often left out is if it's a particular kind of program, right? So it might be like a bookkeeping job. But the job ad fails to mention that they need to have, that they're going to be keeping the books with QuickBooks Online. And so what does their proficiency level need to be for that particular program? So I'm always very kind of surprised by what is and is not in a job ad. And it's definitely something that you want to look at and make sure that it's accurately reflecting the people that you want to catch, not just that you would like to catch, but who you would consider, because you want to kind of broaden that pool. And I like to think of job descriptions and job ads as bait, and you're fishing. So you want to make sure that you are using the right bait to catch the right fish. And that's a real simple thing that you can do to make sure that you are really optimizing your hiring. So the next thing we're going to talk about as far as a good tip for recruiting is to change your interview interaction. So being a good recruiter means knowing that an interview is a two-way conversation. You're not just grilling candidates and you're trying to sort those who are qualified from those who aren't. You have to make a good impression to ensure that the best candidates will join the team. So you want to revise your interview scripts regularly. And what I mean by that is to really kind of train anybody in your organization who conducts interviews to become comfortable interviewing. So I have had experience training, personally training people, managers who interview. And it's as simple as really kind of educating them on illegal interview questions, right? And so making sure that they understand what you can and cannot legally ask. So that includes questions that hinge on things like nationality, disability, race, or religion. Making sure that everybody within your organization is aware of what questions you can and can't ask. But the most important thing really is to make the interviewer proficient at interviewing and comfortable interviewing and conducting an interview. So I like to say to frame every question in a positive, position-specific way. So instead of, for example, asking candidates about their biggest weaknesses, try asking candidates about their industry knowledge or about moments in their careers that they're proud of. And the last kind of tip I have as far as interviewing is to ask scenario-specific questions. And this is actually my most favorite technique for interviewing. And I like to say that when you can interview properly and you're proficient at interviewing, you will have all the data that you need to make a decision for all of the decision makers to make a decision on the candidate. And when I say ask a scenario-specific question, what I mean is something along the lines of like, tell me about a time that you made a mistake at work. What was that mistake? What did you do? And what did you learn from it? And what would you do differently, if anything? Or who is your best boss? Who is your worst boss? Asking these kinds of questions, and then what I say is listening for the answers, because their answers are going to tell you really everything that you need to know. Meaning if they can't identify a time that they've made a mistake at work, what does that tell you? If they can't tell you that they got a takeaway from something, what does that tell you? If they're bad-mouthing their boss, what does that tell you? Like I always say, just ask the questions and then let them tell you who they are. Oftentimes what I see in people who aren't as comfortable or proficient with interviewing is they're asking a lot of leading questions and they're trying to get them to give them the answer that they want. But what we all know is that what tends to happen is when you're saying, well, you can do this, right? And they're just going to say yes. Have you ever been late to work? No, I have never been late to work. And so what it kind of leaves the interviewer with is this kind of an expected sort of overview of this candidate. And you don't have a lot of data to really analyze to be able to make a good decision and use your judgment whether this is a good person to hire or not. So I really encourage everybody to look at your interview interactions, make sure that the people within your organization who are interviewing are comfortable and proficient at interviewing. And once you can kind of optimize that process, it'll be much easier to get the right people in the door. So another kind of tip for creative recruiting is to create a recruit. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Are you changing the slides on the screen?
I am.
Okay, I'm not seeing any changes.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
No, it's still on the first screen that says creative recruiting and then has the Substrong logo.
Okay. Let me try this again. I'm going to stop sharing and then I'm going to reshare.
Okay.
Thank you for pointing that out. Okay. How about, can you see now?
Yes, I can.
Can you see me changing the screen, the slides?
Uh-huh.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So you see create a recruitment video.
Yep.
You're seeing, awesome. Thank you for letting me know.
Thank you.
So the second or the next tip we kind of have for unique recruiting ideas is to create a recruitment video. This is something that I have talked to a lot of my clients about, and they were very excited about it. just to kind of hear how easy this can be. So they are the fastest way to make an impact and to get your message across. Not surprisingly, they have become an essential feature of career pages. You can create a highly effective recruiting video by hiring a freelance video professional. Yes, you can find them. They can make a professional looking video for you. But what we also find is very effective is kind of making a home video. You can use your smartphone and your best employees to really just kind of capture the environment of your office, of the workplace, what's good about working there. You don't need fancy equipment or professionals to create this video. And then you can distribute on your social media and on your careers page. It's, again, it's an effective way to get the attention of your candidates. And I'm always thinking about your job versus a similar job on a job board and making sure that yours looks the best. And it might not be. Like, in all honesty, you might know that your competitor offers better benefits, or they might offer more time off, they might pay more. But I think that a lot of recruiting is advertising and making it look the best that you can in, of course, an honest way, that this is a better place to work than the other place that they might have an option to go to. So it's fun, it's creative, it can be totally and completely free. In fact, I've seen some that are made on smartphones, and they actually just look a little bit more authentic, especially for a smaller company, and they can attract a lot of candidates. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is an employee referral program. If you have any positions to hire and you don't have an employee referral program in place, I highly encourage you to put one in place. I've asked clients this before who don't have one in place. How much would you pay for the best hire to walk in your door and stay for 3 months? They say they would pay thousands of dollars. So, and that could be comparable, if not less, than what you would pay perhaps an agency, or the costs that you incur on job boards, just posting jobs alone, getting nothing other than resumes that you have to screen and call on your own. And an employee referral program is going to be extremely effective. So referrals are not only the best source of candidates, but for some companies, they're the only source. I often will ask my clients where they found their best employee. And they usually say that their best employee came from somebody who already worked there. And then when you think about that person would be a good resource for you, for them to bring in their colleagues to join the company as well. So a several $1,000 bonus, even a $500 bonus, it might seem like a lot, but it's not, as far as the time that you can save from posting and the expenses. Just a little note here about a software company estimating that recruiters and hiring managers spend approximately 23 hours manually screening resumes to make one successful hire. And that means that a successful referral can save you 3 full days of work. And so anybody that has done any kind of sourcing for jobs knows that it's just such a grind. You post the job, you wait for the applicants to come in, you screen them every day, you make those calls, you wait for them to call you back. It's definitely kind of a repetitive thing. And sometimes it's a little defeating, because you might spend hours emailing and calling bad candidates, where an employee referral program can very ideally get the right person sent right to your desk with their resume. Referred employees have a higher retention rate, and they have this implicit commitment towards the people who referred them. So I talk about not only having the referral program in place, but to market it. So I say market. Almost all the clients that I work with, they say they have an employee referral program. And I say, well, how do you promote it? And they say, well, everybody knows. But as my boss likes to say, a lot of a business owner's role is what he calls the CRO, the Chief Reminder Officer. So it's really about repetition. And so if you have an employee referral program, you should communicate daily with your employees to remind them that you have it in place. You might want to increase the amount that you're offering for a referral. And one way that a lot of small business owners will offer a referral program is perhaps to pay half of it when the person starts, and then the other half after the referred employee completes 90 days of employment. And that could save you potentially some money if the hire doesn't work out. But you can offer one, even if it's small. It doesn't have to be $2,000. It can be $500. And make sure that your employees are aware of it and reminded of it on a daily basis if you can. The next thing that we suggest as far as unique approaches to recruiting is to advertise your benefits. I always tell my clients that you have benefits, even if you don't have benefits. One of the things that I work with my clients on is to write what's called a total rewards summary. And really what that is a paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs summarizing all of the benefits that your company offers. I think most people, when they think about benefits, they're thinking about health insurance, myself included. That is something that's important to me in a position. I want to know about the monetary compensable benefits. But you have benefits to joining your organization, even if you don't have a health plan, even if you don't offer a lot of time off, even if you can't offer remote work because of the nature of the job. It can include things like creative benefit offerings, like group outings, vacations, flexible schedules, lunches, anything like that, referral programs, if you offer one. Kind of a team environment. It's a pet-friendly environment. And I think that a lot of times now when people are just in the grind, trying to fill lots of positions, it's difficult for business owners to take a step back and really look at all the good in their organization, but it's there. And I think if you can really kind of get to the root of what's so great about working for your company and really kind of get it down in writing and summarize it, because it doesn't just entail whether you offer a group health insurance plan or not. It can have a lot of different aspects to it. And you can also think about offering some other creative benefit offerings that you haven't offered in the past. And that could be to really summarize in that summary. You can include that in your job ads on your social media pages and advertise it to your employees as well. So I always say you offer benefits, even if you don't offer benefits. I promise that you do. So the next kind of tip we're going to talk about is using niche candidate networks. And especially in the construction industry, hopefully the business owners participating have made use of some of these networks. And you might want to do some research, not only on your specific industry and your competitors, but also networks that might support workers working in these positions. So that includes veterans, people with disabilities, women returning to the workforce, second chance programs, trade schools, non-traditional opportunity schools. There is an organization called CareerWise Colorado that offers services in some counties, putting some unemployed people back to work. Really the tip being just to educate yourself about these groups, which ones are pertinent to your organization, and which ones can help you achieve your goals. You can make a connection with those networks, and it's really making the connection and establishing a relationship with the right person that is time consuming. You can have a connection with somebody at the VA, and once you make that connection and they know you and they know your name and they know your phone number, when you're calling them, they're going to funnel candidates to you. So it's something that takes a little time to kind of establish up front, but it's definitely worth it down the road. The next kind of suggestion that we have for unique ideas for recruiting involves recruiting students. Again, this is something that takes a little time to set up front, but it can yield very, very good results. So colleges and trade schools are an excellent resource for your target recruiting pool, not only for graduating students, but it could also be for summer students looking for work or internships. You can host an online event or competition designed for them. Create internship programs, which are low cost, short term, and advertise it as an internship program. Handshake is a platform that almost all colleges are connected with. We are not, and BBSI is not in any way affiliated with Handshake. I'm not advertising for them. It's also a free service to employers, but schools are connected on the platform. What you can do as an employer is to create a company profile on Handshake. And this is not just for four-year colleges, it's also for community colleges and vocational colleges as well. So you can create a profile for your company. Again, make sure that it has all of the bells and whistles that you want on your social media, that you want on like your recruitment video, your total reward summary, all of those really fun things. Get that up and running. And then once it's running, you're approved as a company, you can reach out to schools individually to request a connection. And once they approve your connection, you can post jobs through that school, and that job will essentially do the recruiting for you. They will post the job to not only their student network, but their alum network. It's free, and it can be a really excellent source for candidates. The next kind of tip that we have for a creative recruiting strategy is handing out cards to potential employees. So I call these recruitment cards. It's kind of like a business card that you hand out to someone that you think would be a great fit for your company. And it should include a link to the company's career page, your contact information. Apple famously uses this strategy for recruiting customer support specialists. So, and I love that example of customer support people because we encounter so many of them throughout the day. It could be at a convenience store, a grocery store, at a department store. It could be on the phone, although you can't give a card to somebody on the phone. But we have a lot of interactions with the public on a daily basis. And if you are able to create a recruitment card and really kind of empower your employees, again, reminding them of the referral program that you'll put into place, if you can really empower them to solicit people to come work for your company. And you can print these cards up, you can do it on Word, hand them out to all of your employees, make sure that they're carrying them with them, just like business cards, and they can hand out to people. And as we're going to talk about in this next section with active recruiting, it's much more successful than what we call passive recruiting. So when you're actively trying to get somebody to join your team in a role that you think they'd be good at, it's very different than this process of elimination that we go through with screening resumes and throwing these ones in this pile and these ones in the maybe pile and calling these other ones and hoping to connect with them. It's actively seeking out people who you think would be a good fit. It's easy. It's low cost, if not free, if you have a printer, and you can engage all of your employees to participate and be on the lookout for people that would be a good fit for your company. Social media, we're going to just talk about this quickly. I say if you don't have a social media presence for your business, you should just get one. And if you are not proficient with social media, you can delegate this responsibility to somebody in your company who might be really good at social media, and they might actually want to do this. You want to pay attention to your social media presence as part of the strategy. try and keep your pages updated. If they're not, you can showcase your company culture on social media, such as what goes on behind the scenes. It will help to attract job seekers who are the right fit. So this is all part of your employer branding. You can put your recruiting video on there. You can post updates and news. I have a client that said that they do nothing more than post pictures of their office dog on their social media page, but it's updated. And they said they get a lot of traffic and resumes that way. And I just thought that that was great. I'm not sure that the content matters as much as just having a presence and having the connections, because it's something that candidates are going to look at when they are researching your company to see if they want to work there. And again, if you're not proficient with social media, I'm sure that you have an employee who is and who would really love to have that task delegated to them. We have the next kind of suggestion is to engage with passive candidates offline. So that really includes this pile of candidates that I like to say are we are not actively considering, right? So it could be candidates that you wished would join your company, but the timing wasn't right or the pay wasn't right. Something just didn't quite align. They weren't a no because they didn't pass the interview or the criteria. It's someone that you would like to work with. You would like for them to join your company if some other circumstance was right. So keep that kind of Rolodex, so to speak, of candidates in your back pocket and continue to talk to them. Have meaningful conversations for the sake of having conversations. Keep maintaining a relationship with them. The intent is to build relationships and not necessarily hire. So you may never hire that person, but they might refer someone to you that you would hire. Relationships are so key, as we all know. You want to reach out to prospective candidates, show that your company is great, and just keep in touch with those good ones that couldn't work out for one reason or another. And the last kind of suggestion we have for different kind of creative recruiting strategies is to host events. Also something that can be free or low cost. You can advertise it on your social media page, and it puts you at a competitive advantage when you get that prospective talent in the room. They'll see your office, they can meet your team, they'll hear more about your culture. You can host an open house. You can host open interview hours and offer coffee or breakfast. You can host an after-hour event. You can invite your own employees to stay and socialize and be kind of a face of the company. But it is something that's free. It shows some structure and stability, some openness, and it can be welcoming and inviting. You might have a couple and nobody shows up. It's something that you can just kind of get into the habit of doing and just have them on the regular. Have Friday breakfast Fridays, something like that, and post it, advertise it, and make sure that everybody knows about it, because that will also be a great way to get candidates potentially and to kind of keep things moving. So as far as the unique kind of strategies and tips that we have, we just kind of covered those. But the other thing we really want to cover in today's session is active recruiting. So when we're talking about active and passive recruiting, active recruiting means you're actively hunting relevant candidates. So for example, by searching for candidates on LinkedIn, those that didn't apply to a job ad, they may or may not be looking for a job. Whereas passive recruiting means that you're waiting for candidates to come to you. You're posting a job on a job board. You're looking at the applicants that have come to you. And we really encourage in this market with the labor shortage to actively be recruiting at all times. So ABR, ABH, always be hiring, always be recruiting. And this is something that you can do. This is something that you can really empower your employees to be doing at the same time. So another poll we issued to our clients was asking them about what % of recruiting efforts are active versus passive. Most of them said that they only post job ads and wait for applicants. And I will tell you that if you have if you have somebody who is delegated for hiring, it might be the owner. It could be somebody within your organization that's responsible for recruiting. They'll tell you that this is very, very time consuming. The passive recruiting, the posting, the sifting through the applicants, the making the piles, the calling the yeses, the waiting for those emails and the phone calls returned. That can take a lot of time. Whereas some of these things that we talked about earlier, as far as unique ways that you can recruit, they might take a little time to set up, but they kind of do their own thing. They work for themselves. When you hand out recruitment cards, like that's just your advertising for your jobs without you even doing any work, creating a video and posting it, things like that. So we really encourage business owners to utilize some form of active recruiting at all times. And I'm sure you're the person responsible for hiring within your organization will get on board with some of these things, because they're very well aware of how much time it takes to post on job boards and do passive recruiting. So as we were just talking about, it's very time consuming, and it tends to yield fewer results than active recruiting. You tend to get a lot of unqualified applicants. I always say if you get too few or you get unqualified applicants, you do need to go back to the job ad and look at it and make sure that you have worded it correctly to catch the right fish. You have the right bait to catch the right fish. It can also lead to few applicants or uninterested applicants. Anyone that's posted on a job board knows when you're calling applicants, and especially if you don't call them within 24 hours that they've applied, they might not even remember the job that they applied for, and it can be a lot of wasted time. So in the spirit of ABR, always be recruiting, the best time to think about hiring is when you do not have a spot to fill. And I think everybody, most companies these days do have at least one spot to fill, but these are still strategies that you can use and start using today. And then you will have a pipeline of candidates. You'll have that pile of candidates for the unexpected vacancy. In my past, when I've recruited, the first place that I always look for candidates are the people I've already talked to, the people who didn't work out because of price or timing or something like that. You want to build that pipeline so that you have a pipeline to look at when you do have that opening. Potentially reaching out to former employees who might be eligible for rehire. And eligible for rehire, you may or may not know. But if you're a small business and you're the business owner, you probably have a good pulse on everybody that stepped foot in your door and who walked out. And if you had that one employee that you really were sad to see go, you could reach out to them. Look at your best employees. I ask my clients all the time, who's your best employee and where did they come from? Where did you get that employee? Ask that person referrals, ask them again, remind them, continue to remind them. Kind of another strategy is sort of like poaching, but it's really researching the competition. What other companies are doing what you do? And look at those candidates. That could be online or otherwise at networking events. Find who is in your same space. Potentially companies that hire the same people that you need, who might have poor reviews. The company might have poor reviews on Indeed and Glassdoor. I think that a couple of poor reviews on any business website is not really telling of much, but when there's a lot, I think there's something there generally. That means that employees might not be happy there. That might be a good place to look. Think about what you offer that company doesn't. And what might be solved if they came and worked for your company instead. So you find where the talent is and then go to where that talent is. And you can do that by creating a concise and specific candidate profile, like we talked about, knowing who exactly it is that you want to hire, that you would hire if you could, and then going to where they are. Seeking out the right candidates and recruiting them. as we just kind of discussed, that being recruited for a job is more likely to land the right candidate. It's very flattering when people seek you out. You want to sell that candidate and not be dissuaded by the fact that they might not be actively looking for a new position. So active recruiting, again, is just headhunting, talking to candidates who may or may not be looking for a new position and continuing to talk to them, selling your company and not necessarily a position, and really selling. Identify the people within your organization who are the best representatives of your company, empower them to get those people on board as well. So that's kind of all we have to cover as far as really an emphasis on active recruiting and some tips that hopefully you can utilize with your business. And hopefully you guys all got some good takeaways here today.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for your presentation. We're trying to hire a couple of positions right now, so I feel like and my HR manager is on this session as well. So I think we got a lot of good information from this. So we really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions or want any additional guidance on any of these types of suggestions. These are mostly real life examples. I've worked with clients to put some of these things into place, and just takes a little bit of time and effort up front, but it can do a lot for you once you put these things into place.
Yes, Sarah, if you could put your contact information in the chat, that would be great.
Absolutely. I'm going to put that in right now.
Perfect.
You're welcome. Well, good. I'm glad that people were able to join. Hopefully we got some good takeaways this afternoon.
Absolutely. I think the hardest part is we always want to be recruiting, but there's almost like what do you do with them if you find the unicorn and you actually don't have space for them concern? Yeah. So I think that's always something that our HR manager is kind of riding the line of always recruiting and then finding somebody that we can't even take on, you know?
Yeah, I have worked with clients that had that same situation. Recently, they decided that because they were so short in these other roles that they wanted to hire them anyway. They made room for that person because they didn't want to lose them. And they had to kind of put a value on that person. And even though they didn't have the need right now, they were going to have the need. And, when you find the right person to join your team, sometimes business owners just will do anything to get them, right? Because you want to lose them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, good. Did anybody have any questions? I didn't see any questions in the Q&A. No, I guess not. Well, good.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Candy. I appreciate it.
And have a great rest of your day.
You guys do the same. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.